There's been a little bit of consternation here in Australia recently in the mainstream media and in social media about a 4-year-old child who has apparently begun the transitioning process at the behest or in the knowledge of the New South Wales government. And I have to say, when I first heard this news, I was a little bit concerned as well. But then I watched the very popular breakfast TV show here in Australia, Sunrise, and I have to say my opinions have changed a little bit. And maybe yours will too. Check this out.
Right, Sunrise Newsfeed this morning, a 4-year-old child has started the process of transitioning genders with the help of the New South Wales Department of Education. They're helping the preschooler through the process before starting kindy to alleviate pressure.
So if they are a little boy and they want to be a little girl, they dress as little girls, they grow their hair long, they are called by another name. It doesn't actually mean that they get any medical intervention. That's something that they may or may not do as they grow older, and particularly as puberty approaches.
Instances in children wanting to transition are on the rise around the country, with hospital gender services receiving more requests for help. Let's bring in Women's Health and Fitness editor Felicity Harley.
When we're dealing with important social issues and the future of children, both on the micro and the macro scale, if there's one person whose opinion means a lot to me, it's the Women's Health and Fitness editor there at Channel 7.
.com.au's editor-at-large, Melissa Hoyer, and Brett's. Felicity, could a child know they're making the right choice at that age?
Felicity, could a 4-year-old child know if they're really a boy trapped in a girl's body or vice versa?
Look, when I first read this, I thought, oh, come on, this is way too young even to be thinking about this. How ridiculous. I mean, kids don't even know whether they're really male or female till they're about 7 and 8.
Oh, so when you first heard the story, you thought, wow, how could a 4-year-old know if they're a boy or a girl? That was your first impression, was it? Fair enough.
But then I thought, hang on, I've got a 4-year-old. Like, he puts my lipstick on for a joke, but he also plays with diggers. But imagine if he came to me every morning and said, I just want to be a girl, Mum. Imagine if he wanted to dress in tutus and grow his hair. And I mean, I wouldn't be devastated. I wouldn't know what to do.
If you had a 4-year-old child telling you what they want to do with their lives, you wouldn't know what to do.
So I'd probably reach out to a service like this.
You'd probably reach out to a service like a hospital helping children begin the transitioning process. If your 4-year-old son came to you and said, Mum, I want to be a girl, you wouldn't know what to do. So you'd take him to the hospital.
We know the facts of this case, and that makes it tricky.
We don't know the facts of this case. Yeah, well, if we take the surface level story here, a 4-year-old child is beginning the transitioning process. What more needs to be known?
I was with you to start with until we interviewed Michael Carr-Gregg.
Oh, you were with her, were you, Koshy? Okay, so you had that initial reaction of, 4-year-old child transitioning. That seems a bit weird.
Who just explained it all perfectly, didn't he, Brett?
Oh, he explained it perfectly. You see, that's what changed Koshy's mind. They had a doctor from the hospital come and explain the way that they help children begin the transitioning process even as early as age 4, and it just explained everything, and now it all makes sense, doesn't it, Koshy?
And I changed 180 degrees.
180 degrees, Koshy. You went from thinking this was a bad thing, like most sane people would, but after the good doctor explained it, you did a 180-degree turn.
And thought, well, this is a great service.
Oh, this is a great service, yeah. Bring your children in, parents, your 4-year-old children, boys who think they're girls and vice versa, and we'll take care of them. This is a great service, Koshy.
Exactly right. Now, that's the key thing. And for families, parents and kids who need this help, it's there now. And a lot of people are taking it up and they're saying they're seeing more of it. Maybe it's just because we're more aware of it now.
Yeah, maybe there's always been this latent subpopulation of 4-year-old children who think they're girls and need to begin the transitioning process. But now in progressive 2016, we're just more aware of it now. It's always been there, but now we're just more aware of it.
And people are actually doing something about it. But you know what, if it saves a kid's life or makes a kid feel better...
You see, if it saves a kid's life, I mean, sure, we've got parents now being encouraged to take their children to hospitals to begin transitioning at 4. But hey, if it saves a kid's life, we can't give you any evidence that that's ever happened, but if it saves a kid's life, then I guess it's all worth it.
About who they are, fantastic.
And it's more a mental health issue.
Exactly. We're not talking at this stage of gender reassignment.
Correct, yeah. Nothing medical.
Dr. Carr-Gregg.
No, we're not talking about gender reassignment yet. We're not talking about surgery on these 4-year-olds. We're just talking about encouraging the boys who think they're girls to act and dress like girls so that once they reach an age where we can perform those operations, that's exactly what we'll do. That's all we're talking about here, people. We're not talking about actually changing the physical makeup of these children yet. We're just talking about letting 4-year-olds who are boys go to school acting like girls and vice versa. That's all we're talking about here. What a media beat up.
He absolutely nailed it by just saying it is something that they can work with now with kids, as opposed to letting them, sort of denying them of wanting to be something else. And then,
we wouldn't want to deny 4-year-old children to act like girls when they're really boys. You know, these children, when they're 4 or 5, they might think they know what's best for dinner, but parents know better. And the children might think they know better than to go to school. No, you have to go to school. Oh, what's that, little Billy? You want to be a girl? Well, we can't deny the child being what the child wants to be. Not in 2016, progressive 2016. What kind of a old-fashioned 1950s style bigot would want to tell a 4-year-old boy that he's really a boy?
and as you said, there could be potential for mental health issues down the track if they're not actually talking about it. So it's
and he was saying when it's handled appropriately, you know, the kids around them at kindy take no notice at all. It's just all accepting and it's part of it. It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah, thanks, Koshi. So there you go, breakfast television here in Australia, and this is what people were waking up to yesterday, to be told, listen, you know how you're a little bit worried about 4-year-old children beginning the transition process through hospitals that are funded by the taxpayer's purse, and the potential ramifications this could have for society down the track, and the potential for child abuse where parents are using their children as a means to get attention, and all the other kind of consequences that could follow from in any way condoning this kind of behaviour. Well, don't worry anymore. We've had the good doctor on and he's explained to us that this is perfectly normal, and they don't actually start physically changing the children yet. They just prepare them for when the time is right. And you'd be amazed, if you're an international listener or viewer of this video, you might be amazed how many Australians actually watch this program, Sunrise, and actually think that people like Koshi and the 3 clowns you see on your screen there, you'd be amazed how many actually identify with these people as being some kind of source of information or knowledge, or potentially even as friendly characters, people they can trust for ideas and opinions and information. It seems crazy, but that is the country in which I live. Now, why has this come to light? Why has it even come to light that the New South Wales Department of Education is helping parents with their 4-year-old transitioning children? Well, it only came up a couple of days ago because of a budget estimates committee hearing. And basically what this means is that politicians are allowed to, if they want, ask tough questions of people like other government ministers or advisors or these sorts of people to get information. And there was a politician in New South Wales who asked the Minister for Education in New South Wales about this thing called the Safe Schools program. And then it came out that there was this 4-year-old child transitioning, hence the ensuing media maelstrom. But what is this Safe Schools program? Well, I'll make a video going into more detail about it in the future, but suffice to say that this is a program of education that's being rolled out across the country, and one of the key people involved was a person named Ros Ward. So instead of me telling you what Safe Schools is all about, why don't we just play a clip of Ros Ward from 2014 telling her audience what Safe Schools is all about.
We talk about visibility, and it's one of the challenges, I think, of working, and we work deliberately and specifically around sexual diversity and gender diversity. Not all forms of diversity, we're talking about sexual diversity and gender diversity. And both of those things are not necessarily visible. You can't look around the room and be like, oh, you're sexually diverse, you're gender diverse, whatever. It's not the same as saying, oh, there's a lot of people from different cultural backgrounds, I can see them in here. Not all cultural diversity is visible, but there are those triggers to make you think, are we doing stuff to make those students from different cultural backgrounds feel included? There's not the same triggers around sexual diversity. People can be invisible, and there are schools where they say, still, we don't necessarily work with them, but we hear the stories of, but we don't really have any gay students in our school, because they're not necessarily visible, right? So we've got to think about really explicit, visible cues very clearly about gender and sexual diversity. So we think very specific posters work really well. Very specific messages from school leadership. Very specific things written in your school newsletter. About Safe Schools Coalition is about supporting gender and sexual diversity. Not about celebrating diversity, not about stopping bullying, about gender and sexual diversity, about same-sex attracted, about being transgender, about being lesbian, gay, bisexual, say the words, transgender, intersex. Not just be nice to everyone, everyone's great. Parents, positive parents, have driven that change in schools. And out of 132 schools, we have had one complaint from a parent about being part of Safe Schools Coalition. One complaint. And that's not what the schools thought was going to happen. All of the school leadership, or what school leadership said, oh, what do we do when a parent complains? We give them some advice, and then they're like, did anyone complain? I'm like, no, it's great actually. Somebody called us and said, congratulations for joining. And it's way more likely to be that we find than people complaining. If and when, and sometimes in that case when the parent did complain, and we have complaints sometimes directly from parents who are not intended to do anything. When people do complain, and school leadership can very calmly and graciously say, you know what we're doing anyway, tough luck, basically, in a nice way. What can you do? This is a program that's about supporting safe and inclusive schools. We're going to celebrate Idaho Day, and we're going to do it with our junior campus. And so, it's unfortunate that you don't agree with that. We're going to do it again next year. If you really strongly disagree and you want to take your kid out of school that day, that's their loss. That's what they say to the parent.
It's important to know that it does come up a lot. People say, what about the parents a lot? Schools give parents seem to have a lot of power over schools. Parents don't have the power to shut this down. There's an insignificant minority that might have an issue with it. None of them really ever say anything, and the one person that does, the principal knows how to deal with that person. They know what the message is. They know why they're doing this work and why it's so important. That's part of the school culture, that's part of the school community. You're either part of it or you're not, really, at the end of the day. And no one's taking a kid out of the school that belongs to the coalition for that reason.
Now, Australians watching this video might be wondering, well, hold on, how did I not know about this? If this was said a couple of years ago, why was I not aware that one of the founders and key people involved in this Safe Schools program openly admits that it's not actually about stopping bullying at all, even though that is how it is promoted and how it's justified to go into schools and teach all of these things about gender fluidity and transgenderism, and it's promoted as a way to stop bullying. How did I not know that the people involved openly admitted that it was not about stopping bullying, and also openly admitted that there was nothing that parents could do to stop it? That's a good question. It was reported on a few months ago by The Australian, the Murdoch Press, and I'll link to this article in the info box below. Now, you also would have noticed that this character, Joel Radcliffe, came up there and he said, nope, there's not much parents can do about this. We're going to roll it out anyway. Just in case any of you find this too hard to believe that there is a program promoting transgenderism being rolled out across Australia and that the people involved fully admit that it's about promoting transgenderism and not about stopping bullying, and that there's nothing that you as parents can do to stop it. If you're wondering how this is possible, is it all just a ruse? Is this JLB guy making all of this up? Well, again, let's have a look at their own words here. This is from the Safe Schools Victoria website. And if we scroll down to the key people, there you see Ros Ward and Joel Radcliffe. Well, it's all there. None of this is a secret. If you want to go and do the research, you'll find out the information. Here we are in 2016, and we've got, apparently, 4-year-old children transitioning. We've got the New South Wales Department of Education condoning or taking part in this process in consultation with the schools and the good doctors. We've got a lot of Australians who haven't yet lost their minds completely, who are saying, hold on, 4-year-old children transitioning, this seems a little bit concerning. And then we've got Breakfast Television, Koshy and all of his mates saying, well, we had the same concerns until we spoke to the good doctor, but now we can see that this is actually a terrific thing. This is a great thing that this is happening. So Off you idiots go to work and just forget that this was ever announced. Don't worry, your children are safe in schools. They're safe in the safe schools. If you're interested in learning more about this topic and seeing just how far all of this goes, there's a couple of videos that I do recommend. The first one is linked there. You can just click the box and it'll go straight to the video. What you'll find out is that there are people who openly admit that they are psychotherapists whose private practices deal with very confused adults who are considering going through the transitioning process. That is, a large part of their clientele are these confused individuals who don't understand what it is to be a man or to be a woman. These same people are not only wanting to go into schools to read children books about transgenderism, they're actually already doing it with government funding. If you click that video, you'll find out all of the evidence, all of the links, all of the citations to help you get you started on that research, especially if you have children or if you have any concern about children and the plight of this society or any similar society around the world going forward. It is a video that you need to see. And then the second video I'd like to recommend to you is the one that's on your screen right now. You can see the title there, Propaganda. What if I told you that these polls you hear about where the majority of Australians support gay marriage or what's now called marriage equality? What if I told you that one of the main polls that they cite actually comes from a public relations team? And none of this is a secret. You just have to connect the dots. What if I told you the same public relations team were responsible for this current ploy of, oh no, we can't give Australians a vote on the issue of gay marriage. We just need to get the politicians to pass it without a vote, because if we don't, then children will kill themselves. And what if I told you they've got no evidence that children will kill themselves if Australians get to vote on gay marriage? And what if I told you that they openly admit that this is actually part of their strategy to get it passed without going to a vote, because they know that if they go to a vote, certain information might get made public, such as the fact that gay people die something like 10 years earlier than their non-gay counterparts, and this is based on peer-reviewed empirical data. Or that transgender people are significantly more likely to want to try to commit suicide than non-transgender people. These are the kind of statistics that they don't want being brought into public discourse, because if these facts were brought to the table, then all of a sudden, all of the logical people out there would say, well, let's look at the facts and let's see what the facts reveal. And the facts reveal that homosexuality, transgenderism, these sorts of things do have easily identifiable and provable negative outcomes for those people who are engaged in them, which leads any sane, rational person to the conclusion that, you know what, children in schools should not be getting told that this stuff is in any way normal or in any way something to be celebrated. What young children should be getting taught at school are, and call me old-fashioned here, things like mathematics, English, the sciences, these sorts of things, rather than Marxist agendas. And if me saying Marxist agendas sounds too extreme to you, I'll also provide a link in the info box to more information about Ros Ward, who openly admits that she is a Marxist. Well, none of this is a secret, but it does involve doing research, because as we've just seen from our friends there on Channel 7, they're not there to help you, they're not there to do the research for you, they're there to tell you, look, we know it seems a little bit weird that we've got 4-year-olds transitioning right now, but actually it's a perfectly normal thing, and you should be very thankful for it. So get back to work, you peasants. So that's it from me on the 2nd of September 2016. John LeBon signing off. Do go and check out those videos that I recommended. Do the research for yourself. Start thinking for yourself. And please, if you haven't already worked this out, please get it through your head right now. Sunrise, the mainstream media, these people are not your friends. They're not here to help your children. There is no absurd Marxist nonsense they won't promote. That's part of their job. And your job as a full-grown adult is to educate yourself, think for yourself, and to protect the children who cannot protect themselves from this Marxist nonsense.